Hi, I'm Michelle Tennant Nicholson. I am the current president of Henderson County Beekeepers Association, and my 2-year term comes to an end in December 2024. We've got 3 people who are vying for presidency this year, so my dream of having the club be stabilized in my tenure has come to fruition, and I am so excited to bring you this interview because in the search of a new internal communications director, Eric Walgren, he told me about Bee Downtown, which then had me reach out to Bee Downtown because I was like, I don't know Eric at all. Should I make him one of our directors? He just moved here. And Ben and I started talking, and I thought, you know what? This is such amazing work. We need to do an interview so that you all know what this organization is. So, Ben, thanks for hanging out with me for a little bit this Friday morning.
Absolutely. Happy to be here.
So, tell me a little bit about who you are and what's Bee Downtown.
Yeah, so I'm the principal beekeeper, chief culture officer at Bee Downtown, and I've been keeping bees professionally now for 7, 8 years. Before that, I lived and worked in the higher education realm, so it was a massive shift from being in an office and working on campuses for about a decade, and then
I
being
bet
outside all the time.
that is quite a shift.
But a good one, a very good one. And it was, I've always been an outdoorsy, love nature type of person, but also like working with people. So it really connected 2 passions. And I was missing that outdoor connect with nature aspects in the higher education realm. But we do hive tours and all these different educational programs that allow me to flex both of those muscles. So I'm very happy and excited to be here at Bee Downtown.
I'm so excited to talk to you about this. And remind me of the website address. Isn't it b-downtown.com?
Dash BEE dash downtown.
All right, so let's just take a look and see. So I've got b-downtown.com. So if you all that are watching the video, if you want to take a look at this, I mean, you're working with some major corporations. What exactly do you do there?
Yeah, so I've been here pretty much since the beginning. It's been crazy to watch it evolve and grow. You know, my first year we had about 50 colonies at maybe 15 different partners, and now we have 500 plus colonies. We're in New York City, DC, just got into Baltimore, Richmond, Charlotte here in the Triangle, Atlanta, Tampa, Orlando. So we're all over the place of beekeepers, and many of those, Georgia and Tampa, and then 5 of them here. So I was the original beekeeper, and then, well, actually Leigh-Kathryn was the original beekeeper, but I was the first beekeeper hired as a full-time beekeeper, and now there's 8 of us. And what we do is we put beehives on corporate campuses and work with these businesses or organizations to engage them with the natural world, the agricultural world, connect them through bees to the outside, and yeah, through the honeybee. So we do hive tours, different educational programs, honey tastings, big events. So like the grand opening is a big event. We enter honeys and honey shows, and anything we can think of that's fun and connects the people to the bees on their property.
All right, okay, so it's phenomenal, right? Especially when you look at some of these top corporations that you're working with. I mean, when I originally met Eric, he was telling me about some of the corporations. And as somebody, you know, I'm a CEO of my own company, and I do the bee club. I lead the bee club just for fun on the side as my service work, as my give back. So when I started to listen to some of these, so you all can just kind of look and see. I mean, it's really remarkable, right? You've got Porsche, you've got all of these John Deere. I think that you also had Google and Facebook. I mean, it's just amazing of all the, is that right?
We don't have Google. We did some contract work with Google and this augmented reality thing, but we're not in any
Oh,
Google. We were, you know, they're in San Jose.
yeah, there's because I have a client that's in San
We
Jose.
yeah, we talked
Silicon Valley, yeah.
with some folks, but that's too big of a jump at this point. We're starting this regional hub, and no Facebook. They haven't reached out yet. But yeah, lots of
So I
companies.
just made that up. So I'm making up
As
corporations.
far as I know, I just do the bees. I don't know who all reaches out to us.
Well,
But we
wait,
did
let's
work
take
with
it back. So there you are, you're doing bees, and then somebody says, "Hey, come to our bank and set up hives." I don't understand. Like, well,
yeah, the
take
origin
us
story
back.
for sure. Yeah. So LK grew up in a family, fourth generation beekeeper, was around bees. Her grandpa kept bees, grandpa's grandpa kept bees. So knew bees and liked bees. Did a semester abroad in Spain and saw some bees on rooftops, and came back and was doing an internship at American Tobacco campus, and was like, I wonder if I can I'll put some bees on the rooftop here. And her supervisor said yes. Burt's Bees is right there. They heard about it and they're like, well, we want bees. And then fast forward 7 years, that's just what it's continued to happen. Well, we want bees. We want bees. As people see what it can provide for their organization, and
So
what it brings.
let's drill into that. So, because I'm in North Carolina, right? I'm in the Smoky Mountains, but in the Triangle area, especially with the tobacco, that is a fantastic area to visit if you all haven't been there, by the way. Just so you can really see the history of tobacco in our country. It's really fascinating. It's very hip now.
That area, yes, yeah, not
Who
much
doesn't
tobacco.
love Burt's Bees? I have Burt's Bees on right now. I actually had a client too who was the mature model for the Burt's Bees line. So just big fan. Let's drill down to these just two. So what did it do for Burt's Bees? Because they were already working with bees. I mean, they already had
Well,
bee products. So then
they had bee products, but they weren't working with bees. They did not have bees. And it seems like they should. That's if you work in a place that is built around a product of a bee, like, you should have some bees. You should learn about them. You should interact with them. So they have a really, really, really wonderful observation hive in the side of their building, and I had a door counter there. So anytime the door was open, so it would count. The summer before COVID, it was being opened 100 times a day.
wow.
So just people being able to see that and enjoy it, the employees learning about, walk into work and there's bees there. Anytime any of our beekeepers go to any of these sites, as part of the gig, like, if someone wants to talk to you about bees, you stop and you talk to them about bees. It's actually why most of us love what we do here at Bee Downtown. So it was just such a natural fit. Your Burt's Bees, you should have bees and be able to see them and understand them, because that's why you're here.
Can you tell me what the hope is for the employees? So I think, I'm a second generation beekeeper, so I understand the temperament of bees, but other people who are watching this video may not understand bees temperament, right? By the way, just shout out, if you've got a swarm, just call a local beekeeper to get the swarm. Please don't kill the bees, okay? Tell us about what happens with the employees, like when you bring them on campus to the place of business. How do you assimilate the bees with the employees? Like, what happens? Tell us some stories.
I mean, it's sometimes there's fear, but fear dissipates with understanding. And bees, I hate bees, I get stung by bees. It's like, well, you won't. We teach people how to act. We send out a lot of communication, a lot of different educational opportunities. Many of these places grow to love their bees. We're also at Bandwidth, which is a communications entity that was on North Carolina State campus, and they just moved and built this big, huge, beautiful location down the street. Installed a giant apiary. It's kind of at the center of everything. There's all these paths that lead into it. It's a big circle with these 3 beehives in the middle on display, and they give out socks that have bees on them to all their new employees on their first day of work, and it's just woven in. And what it's all about is that's it right there, is engaging the employees in something a little bit different, helping them learn about a really wonderful insect that provides a lot of the food we eat, and getting comfortable. Like, we have to share space if we're going to keep growing our cities and doing what we're doing. Like, we have to learn to do it together, and I think people get that after you know, the bees go in, sometimes there's a few people that aren't too happy about it.
Yes, I can
But then
imagine
after
there's
over
some,
time,
right? What do you say to them?
I mean, so I've done probably 150 hive tours. Uh, we do 10 people, but we used to do them for 15, so probably 1,500 people I've given a hive tour to. I've never had anyone be stung. All of our hives we very strategically place on campuses, so they're not going to be in walkways. It's like you won't even notice them unless you look. You should look and pay attention. But my joke, if I'm being a little snarky about it, is they're honeybees, not human bees. They're not going to actually care about you that much. They're looking for sugar. But it's a process. We teach, we educate, people get comfortable with it. And I think all those businesses are better places because
What do
we
you
have
say to the
people that,
people who are walking by, like when you onboard like there you are, you bring the hives, and then you bring people who are scared because you know there's somebody watching this right now. Like most beekeepers are going to know how to be around bees, but how would you educate somebody who's really scared of being around bees? What would you say to them? What do you teach the employees?
yeah. So when we install hives, we have a big 20 by 25 by 30, 25 by 25 fence around it. Stay away from the entrance. It's pretty hard to get stung by a bee away from the hive. A bee at a flower, you really got to work at it. Step on them, swat them, pinch them. So just be aware of your surroundings. And if you see, you know, I'll have bees land on my arm and watch them land. They smelled something they liked, soap or shampoo, a floral element they picked up on. You can watch them lick your arm if you can remain calm. And then they taste you and realize you're just a gross human and they fly away. A bee ain't going to sting you in that situation if you don't react to it. So it's about slowing down and being in control, being aware of your surroundings, and then just, you know, don't go by, stay 15, 20, 30 feet away from the hives, enjoy from a distance, and you'll be fine.
So I want to get back to like living in harmony with the bees. Um, there was a movie that my husband wanted to watch one night, and I was like, not into it. And he's like, no, we should watch this. And I absolutely love it. And I've been talking about it ever since I've seen it. So if you haven't seen Kiss the Ground, it's narrated by Woody Harrelson, right? And so Kiss the Ground, this movie is one that really talks about why it's important for us to live more in harmony with nature than out of harmony. So the way that we are with our farming and the agricultural that we do has gotten us very divorced from being inside diversified land. So I used to think that there wasn't too much I personally could do for global warming. I'm like, it's fine. We're humans. Maybe a big meteorite will come down and the meteor will kill us all or something, right? Like, you know how we all just get gloom and doom. When I saw this, I was like, you know what? Even in the 14 acres that I personally own, I can do something that will make a huge difference for my local community. So let's talk about the diversification of land. Even if you have a half acre or an acre, what are the key points that you bring out to the corporations on why we should really work more in harmony with the bees, the soil, the other insects? Talk a little bit about that, Ben.
Yeah, so that's you know, we come in with the bees and then start having conversations around all of those. So, you know, some of these campuses we work with are 200, 300, 400 acre campuses. I have to imagine their budget for cutting the lawn, which half of it's just, it's pretty, but it ain't real great for anything. It's just green grass. But I have to imagine the budgets are like $250,000, $500,000 just to cut the grass.
Right.
So it's like often with a corporation, I think any business, approach it from the money angle first of like, you could turn that all into prairie. It'll look really beautiful for half the year, and then you'll have to get used to how it looks the other half. But after it's installed, you'll save a whole lot of money and you'll be doing a whole lot of good for a whole lot of different insects and birds and different creatures. So some are more receptive or quicker on the uptake than others, but whatever, we got our bees on site and we will work with them, and sometimes it's waiting to get the right person in the right role, or just a good year business wise to make some changes. But yeah, we're having those conversations all the time. We use Debbie Ruse, a lot of her stuff because she's amazing. Chatham County.
There's a hold on. There's a few things that I just want to make sure that our entry level people are like, what? So there's a few things about grass mowing. So for our experienced beekeepers, we know that the bees love the clover but a lot of times people overcut their lawns. And so a lot of beekeepers promote no mow May. So we're asking, especially as the bees are coming out of winter and they're preparing to get their honey stores together and so forth, May, just don't mow your lawn in May. I know that everybody's got their suburban dreams, but if you could just let that clover grow just a little bit, that helps out our pollinator friends so much. Now let's talk about Debbie Ruse. So for those people who don't know who she is, what's the best email address or website address for her?
Her name is unique enough that it's DEBBIEROOS. Yep, she's the one right there on top.
Yep.
Or the second one is kind of her growing small farms. Any of those, if she does a presentation, they're great. Her garden, she has forget how many, there's like every native plant ever from all over the state. And her garden they're like strips in a parking lot. So it's really showing like you can do this anywhere. So it could be in a nice big 10-acre field, but she's squeezed it in on the side of the county building in Chatham County and in between where cars park. And just there's so much stuff. It's taken her a lot of time to get there, but it's a really amazing garden. She has lists of these are the trees that you should plant if you want to see blooms in different seasons. These are, you plant these different plants if you want blooms in different seasons, plant these plants together, soil, all of it. So rather than recreate the wheel, she's awesome. Check out her stuff.
Great. Okay. So this is Growing Small Farms. But I think just
it is
searching up her
Piedmont,
name.
so there might be some different stuff.
Yeah, because there's she's got so many resources here. I was just trying to find everybody a nice picture. But you can just kind of look at her socials too, but you can kind of see in this initial picture what he's talking about. So you're using Debbie's stuff to educate the corporations.
Well, when people are like, hey, what do we plant? We say, go check out Debbie's stuff.
Nice.
Because it's you can do so many, there's so many. And the thing I love about Debbie is she'll throw like a tomato plant in the middle. She's like, I want to see it there. And like, it doesn't have to be, she's not a purist, I guess. And I don't think we have to be, if you're planting all these native plants instead of a big grass yard. And the other thing to know about grass is, like at some of these corporate campuses, there's no clover in there because it's just grass. It's beautiful green grass.
Yeah.
But when it is just green grass, it's a desert. So yeah, we say rip up your yard and people laugh. I'm like, I'm kidding. It's less work. It's a lot of work to rip it up and put something new in. And then it's less work for the rest of the time you're there. Leave your leaves, leave sticks. So we push the native pollinators absolutely as well. Because if you plant natively, you're helping honeybees. You're also helping all the native bees, or at least a subset of them, and leaving so that my example at my house is keep the front yard as grass. That is what other folks that I live with want. But one side of the house, there's sticks, there's leaves, places that's where insects live. So we plant all these flowers, but there's a shortage of habitat or places for insects to nest. Because I can eat prime rib for weeks on end, but if I have to sleep out in the cold, I ain't gonna make it too long. So that can be just like on one area of your yard, stop doing anything. That can be helpful.
It's funny that you say that because my mother is 87. She's an 87-year-old Bavarian, and she has been fighting she's in suburban Louisville, Kentucky, and she fights the leaves every fall. So when I call her and I say, Mom, how you doing? She's like, oh, Michelle, these leaves are everywhere. They're in my yard. And so she's just every year, just every day, just raking up these leaves. Finally, this year, we gave her an education on the insects that need those leaves in her yard. And could you just leave the leaves so that they have habitats? She finally stopped.
Yeah, sometimes you got to approach it from different angles. It looks different than what we're used to, but it's better for a lot of things. And we just got to get used to that. It looks different, and that different can be beautiful and good too.
Right. Which goes back to that movie, Kiss the Ground, talks about the diversity that we've gotten away from, and then just what we value as the human race in like the things that we see as beautiful, right? Okay, so once the corporation has the bee hives there, what happens then? Like if somebody's seeing this video and let's say they're in Oregon and they're like, this is a great idea. Should they go through you or should they do it themselves? Like talk about like your future, like what do you hope for in the future?
Yeah, so we're a one-stop shop. We do it all. We take care of the bees, we take care of everything within the fence. We paint them really wonderfully. We have an in-house artist. She's right there in the room next door. We take care of the bees, visiting them much more in the spring and a little bit less in the other times of the year, but we're there pretty frequently. We harvest the honey, they get their honey. So we did about 20,000 pounds of honey, all small batch. So this partner got 300, this one got 200, this one got 100. So it's a lot of work. And what do we, yeah, someone in Oregon, there's other little companies. There's sometimes little regional ones, little mom and pop shops, different folks doing it that I couldn't recommend because I have no idea what's going on in Oregon.
Sure.
There's a couple.
Oh, all of a sudden I couldn't hear you.
Oh.
We repeat that? Go ahead, Ben. Repeat that.
There's a couple other companies like ours, but I like to think we do it best and we do it a little differently.
Well, could they come here do they come here to your leadership institute maybe and learn how to do that? Is that what they should do?
So the leadership that has been a pretty local, that is our goal. Is to buy a property, have like a retreat center, people can fly in, do the Leadership Institute. But currently we probably got to be able to drive there. Because when we do the Leadership Institute, we call it the Hive Mind. It's a half day or day experience. We get people in a hive, do a hive tour, and then do analogies, look at different bee behaviors and compare them to human social behaviors and what we can learn, what leadership lessons we can take for them. It's really great. And that is our hope that we could go and do it in Oregon, but it would be hard to get bees there.
Well, let's just talk about here in North Carolina. I'm outside of Asheville, North Carolina, and there's just a ton of retreat centers. So let's just see what happens with the conversation, keep the conversation alive. And I locally know probably 7 camps, camp directors who on their off season, in the spring, we do our bee school here in Henderson County in January and February, which would also be an ideal time where beekeepers have a slower time to do some type of retreat with you, right? And to learn some things. So let's just keep the conversation open and flowing, especially now that Eric is on our board of directors and he knows so very well what you all do. Where we are at the Henderson County Beekeepers Association under my leadership is really protecting pollinators. So if it's a conversation about protecting pollinators, I'm in. We've got something coming up with our ranger station, with 4-H and our local extension offices. We've got a great partnership with them. We've got something brewing with Habitat for Humanity. So if we just keep the conversations flowing, you never know what's possible. And especially if you're like, I need a retreat center, please call me, Ben, because I can think of 4 who would be like, oh yeah, let's have them over here, and might give you a deal just because we are dealing with pollinators. Okay.
Oh yeah, that's one. We have our corporate hive program, which is everything I've been talking about, and then the Leadership Institute side of things. And the corporate hive program is going really well, and so it eats up a lot of our time. So we're slowly developing the Leadership Institute, and in one of these years, hopefully, we get it to where we want it to be. It's good, but it needs to continue to be worked on and improved, and all those logistics figured out. And I will say, when I just heard that list, a group we're working with, I think next week they're coming in to do an educational session, and it might be a fun one to do with the Henderson beekeepers, but Leaf and Limb.
Oh, okay.
They're a tree cutting group here, but they call themselves treeologists. And so when they cut a tree or prune a tree, they do it in a way that's healthy for the tree. They know, these guys and gals they're talking about different, like, oh, well, like the way the water is uptake in this tree is different. And like, it's like we talk about bees, but they're the tree version.
Is it them?
Yeah, that's them.
Okay.
And they're coming to do an educational session. They have a project called the Pando Project, which is really cool. It is, so you have nurseries growing trees. I want to go get a tulip poplar. I go to a nursery, I get a tree. They're all the same tulip poplar. They're just grafted. So the Pando Project is collecting seeds from all around and then raising tulip poplars and trying to increase the diversity by using different seeds from different locations of native trees. Just one of their projects, just really cool stuff around trees and improving habitat and for pollinators.
Okay, well, we definitely have a future together because that's something that I definitely want to do. My father, he passed away in 2004, was a big, like all his charity work was around trees. So like, when he died, we gave to the arborists, and it was definitely rewarding. And so if I could figure out my love of bees and native plants, because we bought property in Rutherford County, which is Lake Lure, and I'm just thinking, like, how can we really connect the dots? And so, like bees, if we just like communicate and get out of our hives for just a week or two, because we're all independents, we love to be with our hives and just kind of be there. But if we can share some good ideas through YouTube or the magic of social media, I'm all for it. So let's stay in touch. And we are a large club in North Carolina. And if people don't know, in North Carolina, we have some of the best beekeeping support. So if you want to become a beekeeper, we've got the North Carolina Beekeepers Association at the state level. And then we have the individual chapters around the country near Ben or by me in Hendersonville or Asheville and so forth. So just take a look, and I'll put all the links inside the description, and just contact one of us if you want to get started, whether you just want to plant, maybe you just want to mow less, or maybe you actually want to dive in and help Ben. So any final words?
You have permission to not cut your lawn. You don't have to cut the grass anymore. Permission granted.
I love it. Thanks so much for being with me this morning.
Thank you, Michelle.